Hi, everyone. My name is Paul DeLond. I am a professor of history at the University of Vermont. I'm also the Associate Dean for Student Success in the College of Arts and Sciences. And I'm delighted to welcome you to our College of Arts and Sciences pre-advising overview session, where you'll hear a little bit about the academic experience at UVM, and more importantly, what course registration and enrollment will look like over the next few months as you prepare to begin your time at UVM in late August. We're delighted that you're going to be joining us, and we're especially delighted that you're coming into the College of Arts and Sciences, which is the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Vermont. So we are the Liberal Arts College. What that means is that we offer a very broad array of courses and subject areas that you can explore and learn about over the course of your career. One of the exciting things about being in a College of Arts and Sciences of our size is that you have the opportunity to take courses in areas that perhaps you've never been exposed to before. And we'll say more about that over the course of the presentation this afternoon. The thing that I want to start with is to remind you that an education in the liberal arts and sciences prepares you for a whole host of careers. And over the time that you are here at the University of Vermont, we will encourage you to think about how you translate the skills that you're acquiring in your various classes to a professional or career-oriented environment. And along those lines, we want to remind you that what's really important within the College of Arts and Sciences is that you pursue your passions. You explore an area, you major in an area, and you minor in areas that you are interested in learning more about, in acquiring greater proficiency, and perhaps learning how to perhaps maybe become a professional in those areas down the line. But we don't want you to always think about a direct connection between your major and your career, because the fact of the matter is that for most people in the world, except those people who decide to become engineers or nurses, perhaps, and go to school to learn about those particular professions, most people will change careers multiple times. And the liberal arts prepares you extremely well for that. It makes you nimble, it makes you adaptable, it allows you to seek out answers to questions. And that's very, very important in a variety of different work settings. So as you're considering what you're going to study, and I imagine many of you are undecided or undeclared at this point, keep that in mind, that you're going to be acquiring skills along the way, and we're going to give you the vocabulary to translate the skills you acquire through your major into a variety of different settings. Keep in mind the kinds of things that you'll learn at the University of Vermont. You'll learn how to do research. You'll learn how to formulate arguments. You'll learn how to write really well. You'll learn how to communicate verbally. You'll learn how to communicate in other formats, right? Digitally is very important. You'll learn how to solve problems. You'll learn how to identify problems. All of these things are skills that you'll take with you when you leave. So I want you to think about that as you consider your major and as you consider your areas of study for the first semester that you'll be with us next fall, and then from your time there on out at the University of Vermont. So that's very important to keep in mind. Keep in mind as well, as you consider the connections perhaps between major and career, that our graduates do very, very well. 94% of UVM graduates in recent years were employed or pursuing further education within 6 months of their graduation from the University of Vermont. So we find ourselves being very successful on that front. And if you scour some of our websites, you'll see that our alums are doing an amazing array of things when they leave the University of Vermont. But with that said, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Katie Tyler, who's going to guide you through a discussion of the registration process and what the next few months will look like. So Katie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Paul, and hi, everyone. My name is Katie Tyler. I'm Student Services Coordinator here in the College of Arts and Sciences. I work as part of our advising team. And so just for today, to kind of review what we're going over, we'll be talking a bit about what a professional advisor is, who that will be to you, and so a little bit more of a deep dive into the upcoming course registration appointments you'll be having starting next week, over the coming weeks, and your first semester schedules, how to choose classes, the process of choosing classes. We're going to unpack all of this with you and for you. And then again, we'll be ending with a Q&A, and the Q&A won't be open at this point until we're done kind of presenting, hoping that a lot of your questions will be answered before you have to ask them, and then we have plenty of time for for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to pass it off to one of our professional advisors, my colleague Ashley, and then I'll be seeing you again shortly. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome everyone. As Katie said, my name is Ashley Bolger. I'm one of the professional advisors here in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm going to talk about what a professional advisor is. And so when you come into UVM right before classes start, around that time, so not right now, but definitely before classes start, each of you will be assigned a professional advisor. And so what we are generalists. So we know a little, or maybe a little bit more than a little, about a lot of different subjects. And we can help you develop those foundational skills that are relevant to no matter what you plan to study. So we can talk about different areas of classes, kind of talk about your interests outside of classes and see how we can translate those into academic pursuits. And then, that kind of just typical course registration advising. We're always here to answer what's the difference between this class and this class, or do you recommend this subject or this subject for me? So we really technically are academic advisors, but we don't just support you in academics. We really want to support you in all areas of your life as a student. And so we are happy to connect you to different supports for academics, such as like our tutoring center, things like that. Also your physical and mental health and our campus identity centers. And so we really are here to serve as a first point of contact for whatever you need help with on campus. There really is no question that you can't ask us. And even if we don't know the answer to the question, which happens fairly frequently at such a large institution, we can always refer you to whoever can figure out the answer to you, or maybe we'll figure out that answer together if it's something we don't know. And then later on, so like I said, you are assigned a professional advisor in your first year. And then depending on the major that you have declared or eventually will declare, then in your sophomore or your junior year, instead of a professional advisor, you'll have a faculty advisor instead. And so a faculty advisor is a professor who's in your area in your major, and they can help you with all the things that I just talked about. And they have that higher level of expertise about your specific chosen field of study. And so they're really fantastic resources for what kind of upper level classes should I really think about taking, as well as life after UVM, professional opportunities, study abroad, all of that great stuff. Next slide, please. And so we are so excited to welcome you all with those advising appointments that are going to be happening over the course of the next few weeks. And so I know many of you have already registered for your appointment, but beyond registering, there are a few more things to do as well. So first, if you haven't set up that advising appointment yet, you're going to want to check your UVM email. And so you really should get in the habit of checking your UVM email pretty much every day from this point going forward, because that is our method of contacting you at this point, not your personal email. So last week we sent an email that has the subject of schedule your advising appointment. And if you didn't get that email, then you can contact cas@uvm.edu and they'll be able to help you make sure that you get all that right information. And so you'll want to click on that email to schedule your advising appointment, and then a few more things to do. So preparing for your appointment, you will want to complete the required course registration homework. And so that email does have a link to a web page with a lot of different helpful information. And it also has a video that will help walk through you things as well. And so you should complete the registration advising worksheet, and you'll find that in that email. And then if you're not prepared for your appointment, it is subject to cancellation. We want to make sure that we're using your time and our time well, and that we're both coming to this meeting really prepared and ready to talk about the things that you want to do at UVM in the fall. And so if you don't complete that worksheet at least 24 hours before your appointment and fill out the form that we ask for to confirm that you've done so, we may have to reschedule your appointment till later in the summer. Okay, next slide, please. And there are some other things that you might be wondering as well. So who will I meet with? I know that we just talked about professional advisors, but like I said, you're not actually assigned your official advisor until pretty close to before classes start. And so this summer, you might be meeting with a professional advisor. You also might be meeting with a professor who is helping us do these advising appointments this summer. And so it's fairly likely that who you meet with this summer is not going to be your official advisor in the fall. And so if you have questions after your appointment, you should send them to that email that I talked about before, cass@uvm.edu, and our student services folks will be able to help you with whatever questions you have after your appointment. And what will we talk about? So this appointment technically is to talk about your fall schedule, and that is likely what we'll spend most of the appointment talking about. But please bring any other questions that you have to that meeting. And like I said, we can either answer those questions in that meeting or help you find who can answer those questions for you. And then how do you know what classes that you're scheduled into? So everyone has a tentative schedule programmed into my UVM. And so you can see that little graphic that we have in the upper right-hand corner. And so it's a card on my UVM, and it looks just like that. And so right now you should have a schedule up if you click on that link. It could change. They're pretty much set at this point. However, definitely check right before your appointment as well, just in case things change around, so you can see your final version after June 6th. And can I change my schedule right now? You cannot. So right now, all incoming students have a hold on your MyUVM registration account, and it's not going to let you make any changes to your schedule. But then on the morning of your appointment with an advisor, we're going to lift that hold so we can make whatever changes you want during that meeting, and you can continue to make changes all throughout that day. But then you won't be able to make any more changes until July 7th. And so that kind of leads into the next question of, can I change my schedule later? Yep, after July 7th, you can make whatever changes you'd like. We'll talk about in our meeting, what kind of changes might make sense, things you're thinking about kind of doing. And then also there might be courses that, aren't the best for you to take. And you can reach out to that cass@uvm.edu email if you do have any questions when you're registering after July 7th. And then what questions should you bring to your appointment? Really, whatever questions you have. And so definitely don't hesitate to let us know what you're wondering about. And hopefully we'll be able to help you or refer you to someone else who can help you. And with that, I'll pass it back on to Katie.
All right. So this is just the reminder, course registration appointments, we really encourage you to come independently to your appointment. I know there's so much that comes with the whole process of getting ready for and applying for and preparing for coming to college. And I know family and parents especially are like crucial to this whole thing. We really encourage students to do these independently and may ask, a family member to maybe step out or something. Really, this is your first contact with an advisor to work with, to practice self-advocacy, to plan ahead with your questions. And we want to really foster that. Remember that if you or your family have any questions, we're going to tell you this email forever between now and when you graduate to send them at cas@uvm.edu. And those of us who are meeting with you are ready for a lot of the questions that you have, and a lot of the concerns about what if I don't ask the right question? Just know this is our first contact. Want to give a lot of reassurance. We can't wait to meet you, and there's no perfect way to have this appointment. We know you're probably, some of you are still in school, some of you are just graduating. There's so much going on right now. So just that friendly reminder. All right, next slide, please. So looking at your draft schedule, just to give you a sense of what will be included. So if you're coming in with a declared major, there will be 1 or 2 courses that are specific to your major. Or if you're coming in undeclared, there would be courses that can help you explore different opportunities, different kind of areas of interest. You'll have 1 foundational writing course. And so that will either be a first-year seminar, an honors college seminar, or 2 LASP classes if you're in the liberal arts scholars program. You'll also have likely or possibly one learning community course if you're not in the Honors College or in a LASP program. And then there would be others based on interests you identified in the surveys from last month. So most of you will have about 4 classes on your draft schedule. There may be others based on those interests, but none of these are absolutely mandatory. Any changes can be made if you want to change them. Think about the questions you want to ask about why you were scheduled into some of them. Some of them might meet a few different requirements from our Catamount core requirements. They were put in there. There's a bunch of us that do this, and we have a lot of fun doing it based on the interest you've expressed or shared with us. And then we're also, none of us is, completely emotionally attached to any of the classes you're in for your first. So it's okay to make those changes too. All right, next slide, please. So as you're thinking about classes to choose, as you think about which ones you might need to change, you might need to choose 1 or 2 more to complete your schedule. We want students in, our hope is that you're in about 5 classes or about 15 credits. You can be in anywhere from 12 till about 16 credits. 12 credits is the minimum for a full-time enrollment. We want ideally to be in about 15. But again, we're all individual. There's a lot of ways to have this conversation. So we want you to look for classes that either you would want to add or that you're wanting to replace something with if you're like, I do not want to take that. So using the newspaper, which is the list of introductory CAS courses, that's going to be part of that homework. It'll be in the same email where we sent you the link to schedule your appointment. That can be a really helpful resource to look at kind of just what's available. There's also a link in the registrar tab of your MyUVM portal, and it's called New Class Search Tool. So that's going to allow you to look through all UVM courses. Big piece is just to make sure you're looking at introductory level courses. So they're numbered 1,000 to 1999. Anything 2,000 above likely has prerequisites. And also, if you're seeing any that are at those levels, look in the listing at what the prerequisites are, because that's what you're going to want to sign up for so you can take it in a future semester. Remember, these are just 1 semester. So this is just your first semester. There are so many classes that you can take your whole time here. And we always, biggest kind of piece of advice that I really like to land on is just to be flexible, because there's a lot of, you don't know what you don't know. So there's a lot of things that you might look at the title of a class and be like, I have no interest in that. And then you might read the description or talk to the advisor you're working with about this and be like, oh my gosh, that actually sounds awesome. So come with multiple backup options for, what you find in the newspaper. It also helps give us a sense of where your priorities are and where your biggest interests are. We might suggest some alternatives based on the interests you express if things are full. And so this is where it's a good conversation to be having throughout the whole time, but trust that where we land for first semester in this conversation will be solid. And again, it opens back up after July 7th, but you're in good hands working with the advisors you're working with. And so flexibility is helpful here too. Okay, so with that, I am going to pass it back to Paul, to Professor DeLande, and give you guys a chance to get your voices heard.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie, for that information. And Ashley, that was really helpful, and hopefully it generated some good questions that will lead to some good discussion. So my final slide here is to remind you about what the liberal arts are all about. And obviously there's a key word here, exploration. We really want you to take this opportunity to explore your passions, to discover what you're really fascinated by and interested in learning more about, to think about the kinds of questions about the world you live in that you would like to ask and answer, and ways in which different disciplines that we offer within the College of Arts and Sciences might help you to do that. I think that's really quite crucial. So we really do want you to explore things, take new subjects, take things that might be difficult for you, take things that you've never thought you would ever take or that you ever had an interest in. One thing we like to remind students of is that because we have a language requirement within the College of Arts and Sciences, college is a perfect opportunity for you to explore a new language, to think about developing a new passion about a culture that you might not have thought about before. So you decide that you want to take Japanese at the University of Vermont. You've never had that opportunity in your high school. Here is a perfect place to do that. Perhaps that would lead to a study abroad opportunity or perhaps a career opportunity down the line because you've discovered you're really passionate about Japan and you'd like to go and teach English there or work in the business world there. So we encourage you to take those kinds of chances within the College of Liberal Arts. Think about these 3 points that are here, that you should let your interest motivate you. We really take that very seriously and keep in mind what I said earlier, that we're going to help you develop the language that translates your interest into skills, into specific skills that you can present to employers and help them see why you might be a good employee down the line. We want you to use classes, as I've already mentioned, to discover your new interest. And we want you to explore broadly because we really do think that that's going to lead to future success. It's going to lead you to take chances, and that's going to be extremely important to you when you leave the University of Vermont as a graduate. So those are all really important things that I wanted to remind you of. With that, I'm going to stop talking and we're going to take some questions. And we have a few that have already been presented. So I'm going to start. And Katie and Ashley, I don't know if you want to just take turns. So maybe I'll start with Ashley first and then go to Katie, or however you want to jump in. And I may jump in occasionally as well. But Ashley, the first question is, what if I have transfer credits, AP credits, or dual enrollment credits? How do those get counted? How do those get accounted for in my degree audit, in my transcript?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Paul. So for transfer credit, AP credit, dual enrollment, also IB credit, it works a little bit differently for all of them, but specifically for AP credit, any AP exams that you took in your senior year, those scores are going to be transferred to your UVM transcript in early August, so not by the time that we're actually having this meeting. And then student services will review everyone's AP credit in August. And then we'll also email you if you need to adjust your fall schedule because you have some duplicate credit there. And then if you already have AP credit on record from earlier in high school, hopefully you can have the College Board send that to us at any time. And then also during your meeting with an advisor, we can talk about changing your schedule to kind of account for that, and we can look up the equivalencies together. Any AP, IB, dual enrollment, transfer credit is your responsibility to have transferred to us. So even if it's like on your high school transcript, that does not automatically get transferred to us. So you'll just want to reach out to Transfer Affairs if you have any questions about any of that. And that's also a really great question to bring to your advising meeting.
So our second question is for Katie. What is the course that I will have to take for my learning community?
Okay, so there's several different courses. There's a lot of options available for each learning community. And so again, like I said earlier, some of you will already have been automatically enrolled in a course for your learning community or LC. Others may have not due to a wide range of reasons. Sometimes it's even conflicts with major courses. So the learning community courses are not required. They're absolutely great if you look at that and it works for your schedule and for your interest and everything, then great. They're not required though, so they are an area that if you'd prefer to change it out for a different course, either a different course associated with your learning community or just a different course completely unrelated to your learning community, those are all options. If you'd like to take a learning community course and you weren't pre-registered for one, the advisor you meet with can help you make sure you get into one that works for you out of the options available to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. Our third question is, what does the process of changing your major look like? And I know students have often asked questions along the lines of how do they declare a minor or how do they declare a double major? So perhaps, Ashley, we can take all of those together.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, the process for declaring your major or changing your major from what you currently have declared or declaring a minor, they're all pretty simple, and you would do that on MyUVM. So Under the advising card or tab, there is a change or declare my major, minor, or concentration, and then either in my college or school or in another college or school. So if you want to change to another CAS major or declare a CAS major if you're currently undeclared, or just add a minor no matter what college it's in, you do in my college or school. And then if it's in a different college, you would do in a different college or school. And while it is a pretty simple form on your end, it is a manual process on student services end. So we kind of go through those and just make sure that everything looks like it makes sense. And so it can take a few business days to update. So if you declare a major or minor, you are not going to automatically see that on your various portals. So definitely don't panic about that. But just check back in a few days and you should see an update. If it is about changing to a major that is in another college, or perhaps adding a second major that is in another college, that sometimes might not be as quick and simple. Definitely something to talk to the advisor in your advising meeting about. And there might be prerequisites, there might be just kind of rules around when you can actually transfer or declare a major in that other college. But in general, it's always open on my UVM.
Great. Thanks, Ashley. Next question. How do I know if I should take certain classes or take a certain class? That's the fourth question I have in the list right now.
I love this one. So honestly, this is what many of us will say to you, like, is this something, does it sound exciting? Does it sound interesting? Um, are you intrigued by the title of it or the subject of it or whatever? Or do you think it'll, expose you to maybe something new? There's so many times in these appointments, I love them because students are like, what does that subject even mean? Other questions though to ask though are like, does it fulfill a requirement for you, whether it's a major or possible minor or a general requirement? You know, the biggest thing though that you want to be asking though is do I want to take this class? I think, a lot of students come in like I just want to get all my general requirements out of the way quickly. And there's so many ways to do that while being in classes that are interesting to you and that you're like, I want to go to this class. This is appealing to me. So we really want you to like keep an open mind, try new things, explore different areas. There's like, I like to talk to students about like pick classes or stay in the classes that seem interesting to you and then that also happen to meet a requirement, instead of I'm going to do this requirement just because it's a requirement and I don't care about the class, or I don't even want to take this class. I just want to get it over with. You can do those here and there for sure, but that should not be the bulk of your, especially your first semester schedule. You know yourself best though. So if there's a class that's calling to you or that is absolutely not calling to you for any reason, trust your gut. The intermediate level courses do have those specific prerequisites, like I said. So anything above that 1,000 to 1999 level likely won't be something that you'd be able to take in your first semester. But again, in the course listing, it will show what the prerequisites are. Come with those questions. If there's classes you found, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to take this. What should I do? Keep talking to us about it. But good ways to think about that.
Great. Thanks, Katie. So the next question, I think I will maybe ask Ashley to take the first part and I'll take the second part if that's okay. The first part is, when should I start planning if I want to study abroad? And the second part, which I'll take, is, am I limited to certain programs?
Great. Yeah. So there's really no time that's too early to start thinking about studying abroad. We recommend getting the process started with your advisor and with the Office of International Education about a year before you're planning on studying abroad. That gives you lots of time to get all those forms in, consider your different programs. So it's really never too early. There's not much that you're going to be able to do more than 1 year in advance, though.
Mhm. Great. And let me just sort of add to that about the certain programs that students might take. We have lots of wonderful opportunities at the University of Vermont, and all of those are you can learn about through the Office of International Education. But I wanted to sort of highlight a couple of different opportunities. The college offers some travel study programs, which are sort of shorter term study abroad programs. We have a couple going on right now this summer, one in Ecuador and one in Rome, which is looking at ancient Roman history and culture, which I hear is just a fabulous course and going really well. So we have those sorts of opportunities. We'll be offering more next year, one in London, one in Barcelona, Spain, and another one in Greece. So those are some opportunities that students have. UVM has a host of programs that we call our UVM in programs. Right now, we are currently running programs in Galway, Ireland, in Auckland, New Zealand, in Seoul, South Korea. Next year, we'll be launching one in Cape Town, South Africa. We'll also be launching in the future programs in Vietnam, in Tasmania in Australia, and eventually in the UK. These are interesting programs in that they are UVM cohort-based programs. Students go to these programs with a group of UVM students. They retain a connection back to UVM. The great thing about these programs is you pay all of your tuition to UVM. There's no differential in fees other than what you're spending when you're abroad. And that is often quite appealing to people. That said, we also have a whole host of partnerships. We have direct exchange programs and then partnerships with a variety of different program providers around the world, several hundred of these that you can look at virtually anywhere you'd like to go. We do ask that our students work with programs or try to attend programs that have been approved by our Office of International Education. And there are lots of complicated reasons, many of which are legal, that we do that. But it also has to do with retaining financial aid, making the process of transfer credits smoother and easier. But all of that is stuff you can learn about. But rest assured, lots of great opportunities, lots of our students studying abroad. I think this past spring semester, we had somewhere approaching 600 or 700 students studying abroad from the University of Vermont. So a really great experience for our students and one that I am a super enthusiastic champion of. So let's see, what's our next question? Will it be more difficult to get into courses if I have a later advising appointment? I don't know which one. Katie, you want to handle that one?
Sure, I can take that one. So I think the thing to keep in mind is even if you're looking right now at the course schedule, the numbers you're seeing today are going to be different than tomorrow, are going to be different than next week. And so students are going to be changing their schedules, like starting next Monday. We're going to be working with students throughout the whole college that are going to be changing schedules multiple times throughout the day, every day through the coming weeks. And so if you have an appointment next week versus if you have an appointment in 3 weeks, it will be a pretty much similar playing field there. We have seats that we open slowly so that we know that when you meet, we have this range of dates open so that you all get an equal opportunity to take a look at what is available to you. But truly, enrollments are constantly shifting from next Monday until when we get here and get started in the first week of classes. So there are some things that students can do to keep checking regularly and to keep in touch with advisors. But just know that whatever you're seeing today is going to look different each day from now till the end of the summer as far as those numbers, and you'll all have equally not difficult times getting into certain classes and not others. So thanks for that question. That's a good one to ask.
A question related to the shorter travel study programs that I was talking about. And those are, in fact, open to students at all levels. So that's important to keep in mind. I think Alec is actually typing an answer to someone right now. In general, students are allowed to study abroad anywhere after their first year, so sophomore to junior year. But those travel study courses function a little bit differently, and we can always make exceptions for students who are interested in doing those. In fact, I'd have to look and see, but I'm fairly certain we have some first-year students doing that this year. So that's important for us to keep in mind. But those are great opportunities. Um, okay. Other questions. Let's see. How many credits are lab classes? Should I take 5 classes if I have a lab in my schedule? That's a good question. Ashley, do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So typically, most courses at UVM are going to be 3 credits. And then typically, if a course has a lab, instead of 3 credits, it'll be 4 credits. And so you'll still have that lecture section 2 to 3 days a week. And then once a week, you'll have a lab. And you can still take 5 courses if you have a lab in your schedule. Also, totally fine to just do 4. Like Katie said, we're aiming for around 15 credits, but if you had 4 courses with no lab and 1 course with a lab, that would be 16 credits, so still right around 15. Or you could do 3 courses with no lab and 1 with a lab, and you'd be at 13 credits, which still right around 15. Um, Also, we've kind of alluded to the add drop period. So for the first week when classes are actually happening, you can continue to add classes. And for that week and the next week, you can drop classes as well without them showing up on your transcript. So sometimes students who are not totally sure if they want that 5 course load with a lab, you can go to your classes for the first week or first few days and then really see how that feels and then make a decision about that.
Oh, this is a good question. Is the add drop period for every semester or only for the the first year semester? That's a good question.
So the add drop period is for every semester, every student. It is yes, like Ashley said, the first 2 weeks of the semester is the add drop period. The first week you can add or drop freely, and during the second week you can only drop freely. You can only add if you have instructor permission specifically, and we do that because things get pretty fast paced quickly, and it's not advised generally to add a class even into the second week unless there's some very, clear specific reason that would need to happen. But yeah, all 4 years, all semesters, add drop is the same for all students. That was a good question.
Okay, well, if there aren't any additional questions, I think we will sort of move toward ending for the afternoon. Keep in mind that you can continue to write and ask questions to cas@uvm.edu. That is often the best source of information. You can reach out to the advisor that you will be meeting with. You can always reach out to some of the people who are on this call. I can't answer a lot of individual advising questions, but if you have a big sort of existential question about the college or about the role of CAS within the College of Arts and Sciences, we always refer to it as CAS, the role of the College of Arts and Sciences within the university, I can certainly talk to you about that, and I will have the chance to meet some of you, I'm sure, in the fall or in late August when we do orientation. Is there anything else, Katie and Ashley, that I'm not remembering or forgetting to add?
I don't think so. I think just reiterating, make sure that you come to your meeting prepared, and that really benefits you, being able to look at all the classes that you're really interested in. And we're very excited to meet with all of you.
Um, Yeah, great. Okay. I think there's a question about pre-med or pre-health, and about someone who's helping students get their prerequisites. There's active pre-medical advising done through the Career Center. I should mention that the College of Arts and Sciences itself is actually thinking about implementing a pre-health advising program. Students will work closely with their faculty advisors, but you will get ample guidance over the course of your time at the University of Vermont, to think about the prerequisites that are required for you to get into medical school. Keep in mind that medical schools are interested in well-rounded students. So you want to not only think in terms of your science courses, which are obviously necessary, but you also want to show them that you have broad intellectual interest, because that's increasingly important for getting into medical school. So that's crucial. But you'll have lots of guidance, lots of advice within the college and through the Career Center that will ensure that you'll be able to sort of get there. Okay, with that said, I think, where can we find a recording of this meeting if information is missed? Are we recording the meeting? I think we are. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I think that we are. I'm not totally sure where it's going to be available. I'm sure that if it does become available, we will contact you about it. But also, if there is any information you missed, those are great questions to write down and bring to that advising appointment. But yeah, we were just told yes, it will be recorded.
it will be recorded, and we'll make that information available to people through the appropriate channels. So it'll probably come in the form of an email. Okay. I think that might be about it, unless the advisors online have anything else that they would like me to ask about or share with the students on the call. It's always weird on these calls because I'm not seeing any students, so I feel like I'm talking to a screen and not real people. So it's a bit disconcerting when you're used to being in front of a classroom or in front of a room of people. So okay. All right. With that said, I'll wish you all a good summer. We're actually having summer weather here today in Vermont. It's warm and sunny, which is delightful. We are so happy you're coming to UVM. We think you'll have a great experience here. We're here to ensure that happens, and we're here to ensure that you succeed at the University of Vermont within the College of Arts and Sciences. So enjoy your summer. Look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you in August and to welcoming you at orientation. So enjoy the next few months and take care, get some rest, and get prepared for college. Okay, take care.